Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at the new spatial audio functionality in Logic Pro 12. This is something that I'm really excited about, although I don't know how often I'm going to use it. I think there will be some times that I want to use it, and I'll explain why as we get into this video. So the concept is on your iPhone, modern iPhones, depending on which version you have, I'm hoping that this will be a feature that lasts for a while, so I won't necessarily tell you exactly which ones, but any of them that can record using spatial audio functionality. And once you have a phone that can do that using multiple microphones, it captures with four. It actually is able to put that into an ambisonic format, and now you can take that file and drag it into Logic and use it in a variety of different ways. And that's what we're going to look at today. If you want to actually hear this inside Logic, I'll be using the Spatial Audio Monitoring plugin. This allows me to hear through the Apple renderer with the not only the spatial audio but the personalized spatial audio, and then it has either a music or a film setting. And so I'm going to leave it on music for today. So how do we originally capture that? If you're using your phone, you'll want to go into your settings and make sure that under the voice memos app in general, that you come through and turn on the recording options. And so with the recording options, you'll set it to spatial. You can also set it to mono or stereo. And then you don't have a choice with audio quality. That is going to be lossy. It says spatial audio requires a lossy audio quality for this. Once that is set, you use your voice memo app to actually record. And for the time being, I'm recording by aiming my phone at it, making sure the microphones are not covered up. I'll be using one of my MagSafe tripod adapters if I want to put this in place and not actually hold it or stand there. And once you record something, the best way to do this is to open up the voice memo app on an attached account so that we can just drag it in from that app. Now, I've done it where I went to my phone and shared it to my Mac, and that didn't currently work, but I'm hoping that maybe we'll get some updates. I will say there have been a few bugs along this process, and I need to update to the latest Mac OS. I'm just like a point behind the current one. I'm hoping some of these things get fixed. For instance, this is a recording I captured earlier today on our campus. I'm going to duplicate it because the duplication process seems to be kind of important. Once I drag one of these files into Logic, let me show you what happens the next time I drag it in. Doesn't matter if I close Logic or close that app. If I try to do it twice, it says that it's an unsupported file type, which is a little scary. But the first one has been fine. And every time I duplicate it, I have so far been able to drag it in a second time. So always duplicate these recordings before dragging into Logic. Hopefully this is something that is either fixed in the latest OS update or maybe in a future Logic update. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. So that's one thing to do that. Now, once I have this in here, I can actually listen to the recording in spatial audio. Something the manual says is supposed to happen when you drag that in. I'll drag another one in real quick. Let me, once again, make another copy. I have to do that every time, essentially. I'm going to drag this out onto the track. And the manual suggests that if you drag it out, it will automatically put it into a surround sound track with a surround sound output. But as you can see down here, it's a stereo channel. So I have to click on this and put it into surround. And then that takes care of it for the rest of it. So you'll now see this has a surround panner. Inside of your audio project settings, you can choose which surround format. I'm doing 7.1.4, and it will put it into that format. Now, once this is in here, you'll see the little icon on the actual track that shows us this is that type. It's a .qta QuickTime audio file from Voice Memo. And so I can actually do this. Now, the other way we'll know that this is accurate is if I click on it over in my properties, a new area shows up called Spatial Playback. And you can choose a format, and the formats here would be surround, stereo, or mono, and it will convert it there. You can also do a voice isolation. And if you do this and there's voices in it, you can either do studio voices, remove all voices, or just all voices. And you can remove ambience removal. So that's like the sound of the room, etc. Well, there's no voices in the current one I have on here. This is a recording of drums in one of our studio's live rooms. And so I just held up the phone and recorded using the Voice Memo app in Spatial Audio. And now you won't be able to hear this because I have it set to these headphones and it gets really tricky. But if you have compatible headphones that do spatial audio, you'll have the option to set them inside of our Logic settings. So my output device are my AirPods Max. That's the first step. Second step, if they're compatible, you cannot do this, by the way, in any Rosetta mode or anything, then you'll load this spatial audio monitoring plugin on your master output. So I'll do that real quick just so you can see where that is. If we come down to imaging, you'll see spatial audio monitoring in this case is available. And then I can come through and turn on the spatial audio. And if I've captured a personal spatial audio profile, you use that with your phone, you can actually scan your ears, and you can turn that on. And then we can either choose music or post-production. In this case, we're doing music. And we don't have any other choices here unless we're using the built-in speakers or display speakers, but I'm not. So now when I push play and I move my head, it does head tracking, and I can actually hear the drums stay in front of me. And I have a lot of it's a lot of depth to the recording because it feels like I'm in the space. And so that's really cool. Once we do this, because we have an output that is now surround sound, it's not just surround, it's the true 7.1.4, which means there's 7 around you. If there's anything in the LFE, I haven't seen anything yet, but then it also has 4 vertical channels. And so as you tilt your head also vertical, you're capturing a little bit of the essence of that. This is because it is captured in an ambisonic format, which is a full sphere. And first order ambisonics doesn't give it a ton of detail, but it gives it enough to be able to spatialize things or localize things in the spatial element. And then we put it here into 7.1.4. We can export that and use it in a different project that's just surround. We could use this with a Dolby Atmos project as a bed track because it's not object-based. It's just giving us a 7.1.4. But that allows us then to have that sound all the way through. And we can assign other objects. Say we're doing this as like a room microphone for drums. Then we could use that as one layer of what the drummer is doing and have all the other individual microphones mixed in with it. That's one option we could do. But it's just a great option to be able to give us that additional content without having to have a very specialized set of microphones. We already have an iPhone in this case. I didn't need to do anything else. I have an iPhone 16 Pro, and it worked really well for this. Now, in a second, I'm going to play just a little snippet of this, but you won't be able to hear it in the spatial audio because over YouTube, it's a little trickier to do that. And it's not easy to capture what I'm doing with Logic Pro in a live situation and have that translate over to what you're hearing. So you're just going to hear like the stereo down mix of it essentially, which is okay. And then we'll go from there. Okay, you can see I've switched headphones back to my normal, and we now cannot choose spatial audio because we don't have the headphones that do the tracking. I can still do spatialized and put it through the Apple renderer, which is going to give us that stereo downmix. Let me just play just a teeny little sample of this. Playing some toms. Cool. It doesn't sound the same when I'm hearing it as a fixed stereo signal. When I can move my head and the actual image adjusts based on which way my head is going, it gives it such a certain amount of realism that we just don't have any other way. So I think this is a really great option. If you want to capture some of the things with this technology, then I think it's a really interesting way to add that immersive element with just a phone as our sound source. Okay, that's it. I hope this was useful. I'm certain that we may be getting some more features to help with this, or that Apple will never touch it again. I don't know. It's one of those two. So I'm hoping we get some more features as time goes on and that this becomes even more useful or flexible moving forward.